Attorney General Bill Barr responding to a firestorm of criticism from Democrats and the media over Roger Stone's sentencing. Barr's new comments in just a second, but first, Democrats are whipping themselves into yet another frenzy over the Stone case, and one congressman not ruling out another impeachment.
We're not going to take our options off the table. We don't wake up in the morning wanting to impeach him. We want to work with him on prescription drugs, background checks, and infrastructure. But we're not going to let him just, torch this democracy because he thinks that he's been let off once and we're not going to do something about it.
Angry Democrats aren't just going after Trump. They're now demanding Attorney General Bill Barr resign or face impeachment too.
We should all be calling for the Attorney General to resign. And if that guy won't resign, then the House should start impeachment.
And Barr ought to be ashamed and embarrassed and resign.
That is so destabilizing to the rule of law and so demoralizing.
This is an abuse of power that the president is again trying to manipulate federal law enforcement to serve his political interest. What a sad disappointment to our country.
And breaking within the last hour, Attorney General Bill Barr reacting to all of it.
To have public statements and tweets made about the department, about our people in the department, our men and women here, about cases pending in the department, and about judges before whom we have cases, make it impossible for me to do my job. And I'm not going to be bullied or influenced by anybody. And I said at the time, whether it's Congress, newspaper, editorial boards, or the president, I'm going to do what I think is right. I cannot do my job here at the department with a constant background commentary that undercuts me.
All right, Dana. Well, first of all, I think the Democrats are acting ridiculous.
They call for him to resign every day.
Resignation. Right. Let's just put that aside. Bill Barr, he says what he says, and he has every right to say that. It's making his job harder when the president's tweeting about that. Do I think the president will be mad at him? Not really. I think he understands. But will he stop tweeting? I highly doubt it.
No, and I also imagine that the Justice Department let the White House know that Bill Barr was going to be saying that, so that it wouldn't come as a surprise, because then you'd see some tweets.
Right.
I have a feeling. But political prosecutions, like the one of Roger Stone or Michael Flynn, or even you go back to Karl Rove, they're always ripe for this kind of partisan response. And so there's everyone's looking at it. And of course, prosecutors, if they resign, then it's a really big deal, and then you get more and more. I think what Bill Barr was saying is that I tried to resolve a dispute within the Justice Department. I did it in a proper way, but he's also sticking up for his department.
Yeah.
Another cabinet secretary that's had to answer for some of the tweets and things is Michael Pompeo, at the Secretary of State. If you remember Yovanovitch, and why didn't you stick up for her? There's no evidence she did anything wrong, etc. So I think that this is a mild, sort of brushback pitch. But also, if you are concerned about the rule of law, then you should be happy with Bill Barr's comments.
One, I thought, obviously he's a man of integrity. He's served multiple administrations. And why do I get the eye roll?
Because I think that Bill Barr's, the way that he is, the disposition with which he's handled this president, who has authoritarian instincts, has been largely to just go along with it, not to get out, just to kind of get out of the way.
Juan?
But look, here's the larger point.
How so?
There's so many cases. I mean, even with this case, where, you think about how the president pressed Jeff Sessions, then he pressed Rod Rosenstein. He has no respect for the idea of the independence of the legal structure in this country, the courts, the Department of Justice. He thinks that if he tells them, then they should do it. Because what does he say? He's a stable genius and he's got great gut instincts. But the idea that these are professionals who are, loyal to our country and to the fact that this is a country of laws has no appeal to this president. And I think that's why Barr said what he said. I agree with Dana. He probably warned them, because I think Barr is still principally loyal to Trump and he doesn't want to set Trump off. But the idea that he says about Roger Stone's sentencing, it's inappropriate, and then the Justice Department acts, that's the best example I could give you, Jesse. That's just outrageous.
Can I make one comment about...
I think you got the timeline wrong.
If you go back to the Justice Department, the DOJ during the Bush administration, the media loved James Comey when he went to the bedside of Attorney General Ashcroft to get rid of the terror surveillance program. They're like, oh, he's so amazing because he's pushing back against the president. I mean, it is just partisan.
Yeah, I mean, and he didn't like the recommendation to begin with. They came in and lied and said they were going to go soft, and then they went hard. So he
they
said,
look,
no,
let me
Juan,
just say
they
something.
came in and said they weren't going to recommend 7 to 9. They flipped the script on him. So then he came in and settled it down. And it's the judge's decision.
You are selling spin so wildly. Let me just remind you, 4, not one person who may have said, oh, I said one thing, they said another. No, 4 career prosecutors resigned. Does that tell you something?
Yeah, they're Mueller
they had too many prosecutors.
They're Mueller prosecutors, and they had an axe to grind. Kennedy, what do you think about this Stone trial now? It looks like there's one of the jurors, the foreman, very, very corrupted in terms of her bias against the president.
Well, regardless of what you think about Roger Stone and some of his associations and some of the things that he's done and the ways that he has broken the law, you know, we all hope that if we are ever in the criminal justice system, that we receive fair treatment throughout. It doesn't matter who you are or what you've done. And, you know, I know, Dana, you've done a lot of good work on this very issue because oftentimes there is bias against people based on the communities that they're from, but in this environment, particularly federal cases that are high profile in DC, a lot of it has to do with your politics. And it's very hard for any of us to divorce ourselves from our politics. The question is, how much does that influence? Now, when you're a juror, it's not whether or not you donated to a campaign or you have a political leaning, but if you are on social media making comments about the case where you are a jury foreperson, you have not only violated your oath, you have essentially created all the ingredients for a mistrial to be declared.
Yeah, they might toss the whole thing. So, Greg, Roger Stone has a tattoo of Richard Nixon.
Him too.
On his back.
Oh, I thought I was the only one.
Yours is really good, though.
Yeah, and it's not on my back.
I haven't seen it.
Dana, why did you offer that up?
I was gonna.
That was a strange thing to just offer up without a prompt. I don't know where I was going with the tattoo thing. I just thought maybe you had something.
There's like 6 dirty jokes that I'm trying to come up with.
I'm trying to tee you up.
All right. I'm with Kennedy on this. I mean, this jury foreman was a trained lawyer who hated Trump, who hated Roger Stone, who was tweeting during this whole thing, and it's not a mistrial. Can they call it a mistrial? Yes, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's like it's like having PETA choose your dinner. You know you're not going to get any meat. So it's, I mean, to have, you know, and that person is so sophisticated that the jury that's answering, you know, that she's the foreman, they're going to be listening to her.
Yeah.
And so she basically manipulated.
But how did the defense attorneys not find it?
I have no idea.
Might have called the striker and the judge overruled.
But here's the deal.
You only get so many strikes in voir dire, absolutely right.
You don't have to like everybody on your side, and you don't have to hate everybody on the other side. I don't know Stone, but I've heard him do some things that are pretty disgusting. That doesn't matter. That's out the window. In fact, that should make you even more adamant about him having a new trial, because it should have nothing to do with how you feel about him. It's almost not worth it. The fact that we're talking about this, again, it's how the media is giving people marching orders to do the wrong thing. I mean, on CNN, they had another episode of WTW. You know, worse than Watergate, this time starring David Gergen, who's held together by masking tape and ace bandages. I don't know how old he is, but what would Gergen and Carl Bernstein do without these stories? And you have CNN, which is basically like the pit crew, trying to resuscitate an unconscious poodle called impeachment. That's all this is. And as predicted, this is going to keep happening, and it's going to keep happening, but they have to have a new trial for Stone. No matter what you think about him, this stinks. I mean, how can you have a jury foreman like that?
Well, I just think I think that the lawyers had to know some of this. Remember, there were people on the jury who were Trumpsters and who were very clear that they loved Donald Trump.
But a jury foreman tweeting, who ran for office before. I mean, this
but here's my bottom line on today. What you have is a president who is empowered by impeachment to keep going, and what he's done is he's going after his enemies, right? He's throwing out Vindman, and now he's trying to protect his friends, and nobody on the Republican side says
wants justice.
This is not the way.
I hope if this ever happens to me, if I get in a trial and all of a sudden it's an anti-Gutfeld lawyer up there, I hope the president steps in and says that's BS.
But
he should do that.
No, he shouldn't.
Yes, he should. Why not?
Because it's about a justice system, not a king.
No, that's your opinion. He's the president. He can do whatever he wants.
Bottom line.
He can do it. The president can do whatever he wants.
Wait a second, guys. The bottom line is that Dana has not seen any of Greg's tattoos. That is the bottom line.
That's true.
That is very true. That's the only thing that we need to remember from that.
Take that to the bank.